I would like to fix this fish drawing up so that we can produce it on a t-shirt. And so there's a bunch of things we have to do to get this thing ready to go. If we go up here to our outline view, you can see that the shapes are just kind of stuck over each other to make a drawing that looks pretty good. And that works fine for a lot of print operations, but go back to preview. For silkscreen, we want to do some trapping on this. I would like to get all of the shapes kind of cleaned up and not invading each other's territory. And then we have to work on sizing and colors and a bunch of things. So I've made a set of production notes here for the things we're going to do to this fish. We have to scale it to the size of a t-shirt, okay? We have to plan our color strategy. We're going to print the aqua, the mauve, the dark green, and an underbase white ink for dark shirts. So what the t-shirt printers have to do is they print the entire shape of the design in white first, and then they print the colors over the top so that the dark shirt doesn't bleed through into the brilliant colors and make them look awful. We're going to convert all of our colors to spot Pantones because right now our colors are named silly things. The CMYK values, eye whites, fin, line, those are descriptive, but the printer has no idea what those are. So he can look at the Pantone book when we get these into Pantone colors. We're going to trim all the shapes down to the visible borders, meaning get all the extra pieces out of the way. We're going to create the underbase shape, which means we take all of our pieces of fish and make a copy of that, convert them into one big shape for the underbase, and then we're going to apply the 1 point of trapping, which will overlap lighter colors underneath the darker colors. Then we're going to adjust our overprinting settings, and we're going to check the separations, all to be explained later. So let's get started on phase 1 of this fabulous project. Take a look here. Okay, artboards, we look at the setup of this artboard and we see it is indeed about 3 1/3 inches. Not nearly big enough for a t-shirt. I'd like this fish to be about 11 inches on the shirt, so I'm going to make my artboard go up to 12 inches, and that'll give me enough room to put an 11-inch fish in there. So key thing here, constrain the proportions. Then when I go to 12 inches, hit the tab key, it now makes it up to 9 and 0.45, and we might say, great, we're ready to go, but if I zoom out a little bit here, I discover that sadly it didn't scale my fish. It just made the artboard bigger. So I've got to scale the fish, all right? So I'm going to use the scale tool here, and if I knew what percentage I would do, I could put that in here with uniform scaling. I'm not even going to use this though. What I'm here for is just to double check this scale, strokes, and effects. It's a good idea when you're doing artwork, even though I don't think I need it on this fish. When you have a design that has scale or has strokes that are a really important part of the design, if you start enlarging it and it doesn't scale your strokes, it ruins everything. So it's not a bad idea to check that and make sure you're scaling strokes. And so if I click OK on this, that is set up to do that. And now I can scale my fish. Now, one thing I want to do though is I want to keep my instructions going on at the same time. So I'm going to unlock everything. I'm going to go in here to the outline mode by hitting the Command Y key, and then make sure I got the selector, select everything, and then I'm going to grab a corner handle, hold the Option key down to make it scale from the middle of this shape, hold the Shift key down to constrain it, and then I'll bring it up here to probably what is around 11 inches. And then I'll move it over a little bit with the cursor key, and that should be scaled. And then if I turn this off, the instructions, I go back to preview mode. There we are. So we now have the fish at the right size. Cool. Now our next step was going to be to convert everything, all the colors to Pantones. So here's the trick here. These are all colors in the color group, and so here's when I double click that, I get this edit color panel. Right here in the lower center, it's this little square. It says limits the color group to colors in a swatch library. This is the magic tool. Click on that, and it gives me all these different libraries I could go to. Color books are the ones that contain things like the Pantone solid coded library. The printer will have a book of Pantone solid color chips. He can match his colors to my Pantone colors. So I click OK here, and it says modify, and I go yes. And now my Pantone colors are something the printer can identify. Now this white color is going to be my underbase color, and I don't want the printer to think he has to mix a custom color for that. So I'm going to go out of color or book color and get to where I can rename this. I'm just going to call this underbase, and that way the printer, when he looks at the separations, will say, oh, underbase, I know what that is. I'm not going to mix that. So everything else is like that. Now I want to double check, because I don't know that these are actually applied to the colors I have right now. So I'm going to select all my kind of mauve colored shapes, make sure they have that Pantone color applied. I'm going to select the aqua, make sure it has the Pantone. Select the eyeball, make sure it's the green, and I'm going to select the, select the white of the eye and make sure it's the base color. So everything now has a color off the big list here. So now we're ready to go. Okay, so I want to get rid of all those extra overlapping shapes here. How do I do that? Well, I can use the magic of Pathfinder. So I will go back here and look at everything in total. So we select everything. I'm going to use the divide tool. I'm going to divide everything. I'm going to go up here to ungroup all those divided things. So now there's a shape, there's a shape, there's a shape, there's a shape. So there's all these different pieces. And what I can do now is I can use the magic of select same color fill color. That selected all of the colors of that shape. I can go and unite these with the Pathfinder. They are now one color. Do the same thing with this color here. Go select same color fill, and when those are all selected, all these little pieces, unite those, and I think the eyeball is fine. Those pieces are great. So if I look here now, I've got a nice clean drawing of the fish, and it has no overlapping shapes. It's all discrete, shape against shape, and that gives me a fish that's ready to go. And I've got I'm at the trim stage, trim shapes to all borders stage. I'm going to stop at this point, and then we're going to move on to the trapping and the underbase and all that.